Hi, welcome back. This short demo video is going to talk a few more about how to self-pace through the course, and particularly I'm going to talk about the class activities, the exercises that you will do and submit, including the in-class hackshop, homework, and etc. I'm going to say a few things about how to prepare for in-class hackshops. You'll do the same doing the homework exercises for the course. Now let's get to it. As usual, here is my Python Jupyter Notebook working directory, and follow the same routine as you do to launch the Jupyter Notebook. Command prompt and launch Jupyter Notebook. Very nice. And as you can see here, I have downloaded the Hackshop 2 here. So open that. I'm going to increase the view here, zoom in, so that you can see more clearly. Now, I recommend that upon opening any of the Hackshop and the homeworks or the project, carefully read the requirement section and follow each of them. Do not skip them. It asks you to rename this notebook because this is the one that you will submit, and I ask that you revise your name so that your work is properly recognized as part of my grading process. So rename the file as Hackshop2, which is the same as the file name, but add space and your name. Now replace the pointy brackets here and your name with your actual name. So for me, this is how I will rename the notebook. This is my name. If your name is Sam Houston, you will say Sam Houston here and click rename. Now the name of the Jupyter Notebook has been changed. If I go back to the Jupyter Notebook homepage, you will see that the new name is reflected on there. Alright, so when you work through the Hackshop, for the Hackshop, I recommend that when you are learning the materials, when you are close to the actual lecture in which we are going to do the Hackshop, you prepare yourself for those questions ahead of time. Try to do those exercises and try to get the solution as much as you can. That will prepare you well for walking into the class. You don't have to submit, or I do not recommend submitting Hackshop ahead of the class, and it will not be a good idea to submit even before the class, because part of the purpose of the class is to go through some of the challenging parts of the Hackshop, and also to allow opportunities for you to ask questions. So the best way to prepare for that is to try to work through the problems and get the solution yourself, and best yet, if you have questions, bring those questions to the class, ask your professor, ask me, and get the explanations that will serve your questions well. Throughout, now part of the requirement is that you are asked to run every code cell that's provided before you attempt to do the question, because some of the questions provide the object instances that you will work with. Without running those codes that define those object instances, there's no way that you can use them to get the kind of solution that you want, right? You will get errors saying this object is not defined. The reason for that error message, as I talked about in the earlier tutorial demonstrations, is that you haven't run the codes that are provided to you. So keep that in mind. For markdowns, to take notes and answer conceptual questions, also run them before you submit them, and that way it gives you a nice layout style for those markdowns. And last but not least, save your notebook before you close it. You do not always have to download, but the safer way is to download as a copy in your download folder and submit that. But before that, save your notebook to be sure that your latest work are saved. Okay, then you can progress through. Now this is the first cell that is provided to you. So but read the question before you run the code cell. Now the first question asks you how to comment out a line. What does that mean? Which means this line is supposed to be a comment line. However, it is included in a code cell as if it is not a comment line, but it is a Python code line. Clearly this is not. This is supposed to be a comment line. So the question asks you to modify the line in order to make it comments. Now you learn it in the course, from the course module, the slideshow, that the comment line always begins with, as a primary form, as an alternative, but the primary form of the comment line begins with a symbol. What is that symbol? You guessed it, it's hashtag. So by including a hashtag, you immediately see that the color theme and the font of the line changes. Now, are you done? Not quite yet. Run this line. This is a code line. This is a code cell, so run this cell. Great, it runs, there's no error, and this line is clearly a comment line. So you nailed this question. Alright, let me demonstrate the second question here. Is string 1 an object instance? Is string 1 a string object? Write codes, which means use a function that's talked about in the course. Think about what function you learned in the course which does this exactly, to check an object instance against an object type. What is that function? Exactly, it's isInstance function. It takes two parameters or two inputs and checks the object type of the first input against the type that's provided as the second input. So, though you start working, wait a second, before you start working, always run the codes that are provided to you before you run into coding errors. I'm not saying that the error messages is not good. It's good. It gives you learning experiences, gives you exposure to learning opportunities. But if you can better anticipate the error message, well, you want to best avoid it because it takes time to fix it. So after running that, I have string 1, the object instance. Now, to work through this question, I will type the function, and I should provide the object instance here, and then provide the object type. I'm checking it against string. Is it a string type? I should be getting true. Write code by using a function to evaluate the type as string. It is a string, so I should expect the output to be true. That's great. For question 3, there's no code cell provided, so you don't have to run anything before you write the part. And actually, this question asks you to do something that you will almost always do at the beginning of your Python coding exercises in the future after you have started learning pandas. And on. Question 4 provides some object instances that you must run before you attempt the question. Question 5 is a conceptual question. You are supposed to answer true or false. Python programming is case insensitive. Is it insensitive? I don't believe so. You know what I'm talking about. So type your answer in the next line. What you can do is either click enter on this markdown cell, and then in here, after a blank line, type in your answer, either true or false. It should be very obvious, but without giving the game away, I'll simply type a neutral example here. Be sure to include a blank line here to separate them out. And when you render this markdown cell, when you run or when you click Control Enter, it's going to render. This is supposed to be the place that you include your answer. Alternatively, I can double click as well. If I think it has the blank lines, but alternatively what you can do is to add a cell below and make it a markdown. You can use the menu as well and type true or false as your answer, and then run the markdown cell. It's fine if you include the answer in the same markdown or create a new one, as long as it looks professional and it looks clear. Alright, you know what to do with the rest of the questions. Carefully work through all the questions, and all the questions or the scenarios of which have been talked about in the course modules and slideshows, and you should have all the resources to help you succeed in getting this hack shop exercise done nicely. Now, as with hack shop, you would do the same as with the homework, although the difference is that for homework we're not going to have time for you to work on in the class, in the lectures, but you will work on them off time after we have covered the contents of each of the homework, and you will submit before the due date. Versus hack shop, you have time to prepare for them. I would go through the challenges and points in the specific class lecture on which we will cover the hack shop, and I will have specific time allocated during the class for you to complete the hack shops, and then you will turn in the hack shop after that specific lecture class. That said, the contents and the exercises, the types of questions in the hack shop as well as the homework should be very similar with different coverages. Alright, this is all. Hope this short video is helpful. See you later.